Thank you. We are going to ask you to stay just for a few minutes. We'll get you out of your 9:05. But we are hoping that you might have some comments to make about the show you just saw. So, we're now referring it to our epic stage reading. So the only stage reading that people have had to dance, move, and jump through hoops, but they pulled it off admirably.
Yeah.
How about a show of hands? Who has read a Kurt Vonnegut book? Show of hands, who's been at Eventide before? Good, but not quite a few new people. That's kind of cool. So we know that Kurt is famous for his unique blend of dark humor and satire, while giving us some real deep exploration of humankind's biggest challenges, like how's our march to the newer technology going to end, and the puzzle of human relationships, and even the big one, war. Why we keep doing it? It's, as it turns out, doing this here is very fitting because Kurt's Something Borrowed is on the Gertrude Lawrence stage. The portrait of Gertrude Lawrence is above the door up there. And hit it, Aaron, if you can, good. This is a picture of Gertrude Lawrence. That's Gertrude Lawrence. She's the epitome of our character Barb, or Kurt's character Barb. She's the glamour girl. So here we are, real life Gertrude Lawrence stage.
We want to try to recognize the tall man with the beard standing there.
On the far right, any guesses who it is? Vincent Price. Vincent Price.
Get the Cupid doll. There you go.
So she was entertaining the troops, and so was our Barb, so was Kurt. Are there any veterans here tonight? Show of hands. Ah. I would like us to take just a minute of silence, thanking those who served. Thank you. So, what did we get out of this play? Was there a message or messages that anybody gleaned? I'm waiting. Yes.
What was borrowed?
What was borrowed?
Oh, that was, yes, very interesting. I puzzled over that. I think it was just because of the something borrowed, something blue, something old, and something new. But I did wonder, and of course, we borrowed his script.
I believe it's a play on words about borrowed trouble. You know, that the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side. We were talking about this backstage. It's actually Gwen about that. So,
Gwen.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to tell on her.
Well, I'll get to her later. Anybody else? Yeah.
We're all here on borrowed time.
We're all here on borrowed time. Oh, yeah.
We borrowed your time.
Our time has been.
Yep, thank you.
Nancy.
I was here last night, and it's possible even more wonderful tonight. Thank you so very much. All of you, it was absolutely wonderful. And I said last night too that I think Kurt Vonnegut was way ahead of his time. So many things, and the borrowed thing, I just thought, I wonder if it's kind of borrowed. You know, the married couple is kind of borrowing some of the newness and the new love from the young couple and kind of maybe incorporating that into their lives, and maybe when they go home, they kind of rekindle the whole thing because they were inspired and they sort of borrowed on this.
Did anybody ever hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe stops golfing so much.
But
If you would, then.
can you repeat that for the people who couldn't hear it with your nice strong voice?
What was just said?
Yeah.
That what was being borrowed was this couple was borrowing from the wonderful love of a newly married young couple. So we're borrowing happiness.
But it's also reciprocal because they're learning.
Yeah,
It's reciprocal because they're learning, everybody's learning, yes.
I think they were borrowing the naivete of the younger couple, but what the backfire was that there was also the theme of the war and the post-traumatic stress of what the war was. So I think it was his opportunity to integrate that into what that does with relationships.
Isn't it fantastic that he has so much messaging? We also saw, because we were bothered by some of the references to women from the World War II vets, and obviously Eddie's not on board with any of that. And so we almost did think, too, as Nancy noted, that he was ahead of his time, maybe. This was written in 1954. And maybe he was seeing that the World War II veterans, his comrades, and the way the women were being treated, the way the women were acting, the culture was changing. It was going into the Korean War times where there was more. We were on the cusp of women's liberation, for instance, and that the Korean War men, they were different. And so we also think that that's maybe what his message was that was an old way, and here comes the new way. Anybody else have any comments? Yes.
There seemed to be a notion, too, that there was a kind of a borrowing of an ideal that you found at the end of the song with No Lily Marlene. That instead of kind of developing your own ideal or thinking through, he had kind of invested this dream woman from the song and then was never able to duplicate that. So I think it's interesting. He seemed to have learned a very valuable lesson, and the husband may have as well. I wonder about his wife.
I didn't quite catch the end of it.
I wonder whether his wife had actually learned anything at the end of this.
Oh. Did you think Barbara had any
Epiphanies?
We're their children.
You're funny. Looks aren't everything. Sorry, that's bad. I'm not quite sure she did.
I don't think so.
I didn't see anything in it.
She wants to be a door-to-door-to-door. Her focus is, as she said in the second scene in the first act, what about me? Nobody's worried about me. And her whole thing about during the war. Now, granted, I'm not taking anything away from what the folks in the USO did and the fact that frequently they were close to the action. But it's a lot different than being the ones that are actually in the front. But, she talked about the buzz bombs in London, and her focus to me seems to be all her.
And 4 marriages and being 28 years old, that's kind of a red flag.
George?
I'm 39.
George, that's the last one.
Big line. Yes.
Yeah,
Speak loud, Jim.
Yeah. I don't know, the borrowed thing to me seems like it's romanticism in itself is something borrowed. It's borrowed so that you don't have to really examine reality. But, the thing about World War II is that the women's roles, they went into the factories, they took the jobs, and now we're in retrograde motion in 1954 by the fact that women are supposed to go back into doing this
Lazy
thing.
Susans in the refrigerator.
It was like Pandora's box. They couldn't push women back into it, but there was certainly an attempt, and I think Kurt Vonnegut was right on top of it. With this sense that what you're borrowing is romanticism, and if you can stop borrowing so much and face reality, maybe you'll get somewhere.
I like that. Allison, you like that one. Now, write that down.
All stars.
Allison in the back. Speak loud. She's an actress, so.
Well, I found the whole thing strangely imbalanced because it starts out being all about the women, and then they're kind of dropped at the end, and it's about the men's resolution. So I found that strangely, I found it unfinished. Unfinished.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep people too long. Oh, there's another Allison. That happens to be an article.
The Allison bookends. Liz, did you change? Is the ending exactly as it was? Is it okay to talk about that? But before then, I wanted to just say I found it absolutely fascinating. Maybe because I was born in '53, it just captures this moment in time that, as the Steve, I guess, who spoke before, so eloquently put it, that that the women had become part of the workforce and and asking them to go back into the role of the little wife. I think it's a fascinating commentary on that moment in time and relations and societal relationships and all that. But anyway, the ending I'm just curious about that.
Well, it was, and the ending was very abrupt, as Kurt had designed it. And I took the liberty of adding, that's what I'm searching and searching. So a little bit more time for the audience to get that he's had an epiphany before the blackout. So I did stretch it a little bit, but trying to be as authentic as I possibly could to Kurt and honor his work. So, Nancy.
Just one more comment. I think it is a lost masterpiece.
Good. That was my next point, and I do want to, before we wrap it up, because she thinks it is the lost masterpiece. But I want to point out that we are very, I feel very blessed because we have Edie Vonnegut in the audience, Kurt's daughter, and so she thought she's here, and that makes me very proud and pleased. So thank you, Edie, for coming. Here by 9:05. I held you too long. It's 9:07. We're done. Thank you.